The Mirror in the Attic. It was the night before Sarah was supposed to move out of her childhood home, a house that had stood on the edge of a small, forgotten town for nearly a century. She had spent years avoiding the attic, a place her mother always warned her to stay out of. But now, with only one last night left, curiosity gnawed at her. As Sarah climbed the creaky stairs to the attic, the air grew colder. The dim light from the hallway barely reached the top, leaving the attic in a heavy, suffocating darkness. She fumbled for the pull cord to turn on the light, but when it flickered on, there was something strange. A large, ornate mirror she had never seen before. It stood in the far corner of the room, its surface darkened and dull, almost as if it had been forgotten for decades. Sarah approached the mirror cautiously. It was framed in a deep, intricate wood, its edges carved with strange symbols that seemed to shimmer just at the edge of her vision. But the most unsettling thing was the reflection, or rather, the absence of a reflection. The glass seemed to swallow the light, absorbing everything around it like a black hole. Suddenly, she heard a low whisper behind her, as though someone had just exhaled near her ear. She spun around, but there was no one there. Her heart raced as she turned back to the mirror. For a moment, she thought she saw something. Someone, moving in the reflection. But when she looked more closely, it was gone. The air grew heavier, colder, and the whispering grew louder, more insistent. Sarah stepped back, her foot catching on an old trunk. She stumbled, almost falling, but as she steadied herself, she saw something in the mirror, a pale, distorted version of her own face, grinning back at her with an eerie, unnatural smile. The smile widened, impossibly wide, as if the reflection was mocking her. Her own eyes, her own face, twisted and contorted, becoming something alien, something not her own. Then the whisper came again, this time not from behind her, but from within the mirror itself. "Come closer." Terrified, Sarah tried to step away, but her legs felt heavy, as if the mirror were pulling her in. The reflection of her hands stretched forward, reaching out toward her, fingers curling into claws. Frantically, she turned to flee, but the attic door slammed shut with a deafening bang. She was trapped. The whispers rose to a crescendo, filling the room with a chorus of voices. And in the mirror, her reflection reached out, its hand now on the other side of the glass, its fingers tapping against the surface. "You're not leaving." With a burst of strength, Sarah shoved herself toward the door, banging on it with all her might. It opened just enough for her to squeeze through. But when she turned to look back, she saw nothing in the attic but the mirror, silent, still, and empty. The next morning, the house was gone. Not burned, not collapsed, just vanished, as if it had never existed. The only thing left behind was the mirror, sitting on the floor of a field, its surface reflecting the sky above. And somewhere, deep within the reflection, Sarah's face, her twisted, smiling face, watched.